Oh, my mic was off. What's going on, guys? No, Keith won. Ammon. Aloha. What's up, dude? Yo, what's going on? What's up, Mason? I poured myself scotch because I've been coughing. Need to get this checked out. Up and down, up and down. Yeah. I mean, I will say this. For us being in a bloody market, what's going on, Billy? We didn't get being even up, almost 4% when everything else was just falling apart. You look at the SPY today. That's not a pretty candle. I mean, it did push up at the end, but I mean that's not a pretty candle. So us being up 4% almost, that's pretty good. What's up, Just Investor? A day, yes, what a day. Sorry, got a little cough going right now. Very oddball question about the options chain today. Do you think the person that was buying all these in the money calls is the hedge fund trying to short the stock and acquire the stock to cover the FTDs? Yeah, I mean, that's one way they can try to manipulate it. It also could be the market maker trying to make sure that they have enough shares that they can cover at a certain price. Sam's going to have some scotch with me. All right, good stuff. Yeah, the market was red and we were green. So, I mean, that's all you can say is, the last 20 minutes were, interesting, but that was a combination of someone. So I'll put up the options chain so you guys can see this, but somebody made options super, or the puts super cheap. They did this last week too. So this market maker is making these puts super cheap and super convenient for them to stack up, and that's how they got us to drop in these days. Like normally puts are more expensive than calls, and in this case, the last couple days, they're making puts way cheaper than calls, and so they're able to buy thousands of them, these contracts, and drive down the price. So, excuse me. Sold some $4 strike weekly cash covered puts. Bought shares. Yeah. I was gonna say it's a good way of if you're going long on a stock, it's a good way of doing that. So obviously not financial advice. I'm supposed to say that, right? Nothing in here is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Is that what all the YouTubers say? Okay, I think I covered it. What's going on, Andy? Hey, Anon. I decided what I'm going to do with all those options. I'm going to sell 40 shares, exercise 2 of the cheaper ones, and hopefully sell the last one for a profit. There you go. What's up, Atomic Ape? That damn 200 EMA on the daily has been a bit. Yeah, I mean, every time, right? We broke over it, but that's what they're fighting because what they can't allow to happen is allow a golden cross to happen, right? They don't want that to go through. So if we go and let me add a study. So we have the 9, 200. That's probably. But yeah, what we're looking at, this blue line, we want that to cross over the dark blue line, and that's to get that to happen. You need to have it pop up like here, like it was pulling up towards this, and that you had to push it down. And now we're trying again to pull it up. And so, if we get a good volume day and we, kind of come through, what you could see is this line pull through there, and that would be, be a real bullish sign. So if anyone wants to know about that, obviously they're very much going for that. Great day considering an entire market. Yeah. Unfortunately, we're always manipulated after hours. I mean, after hours it's not that big of a deal, to be honest. Like, I don't pay attention to after hours unless it's 10% or more. That's just my rule of thumb. And honestly, we gapped up today, and then we filled it like immediately. So, all right, I know you've already covered it, but can you explain exercising options early versus letting them expire in the money? So when you have an option, right, and you decide you're going to exercise it early, what ends up happening is they can de-hedge your position, and then your shares become a T+2. So say you exercise them on Tuesday, they're supposed to be, sorry, they're just throwing up a picture of my foot on the Discord for some reason. My Asics, my dad's shoes. Somebody said, just for reference, somebody said if Anon shows a piece of his body, I'll reveal what I do for a living or something like that. And I thought it was funny. I just put a picture of my shoe. Now they'll look at my cankles. All right. But yeah, so basically your shares become a T+2 and they get to de-hedge them. So that's why sometimes holding them into expiry can make them at least keep that hedge going. So that's part of the reason, but you don't have to. I mean, you could exercise them right before, or you could, but it's you do whatever you want with your options. They're your shares. You guys invest however you guys want. Like, I am not telling you how to invest. I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. So, hey Nitro, how's it going? Overmind, slap that like button. That's what Yard Meat said. We've got 299K market maker orders that went through 1 second before market close. Is that normal? No, that's not normal. I mean, yeah, you settle like dark pools and stuff like that, like on the last bar usually. So you'll notice like a huge amount of like orders going through. They're just showing you basically that some of their like how they settle things out. The last bars are usually like you'll see a flash of like all these orders coming through. I would think it'd be even more, higher than that, to be honest, but it all depends. Nikolai, what's going on? Hello. Today was great considering the fact the entire market dumped. Yep, that's what we're going with. Is obviously the market was having a rough day, and the fact that we were green still is pretty bullish. And yeah, things will get cheap, and let's see. That has been a trend with Aterian. Yeah, and they're, like I said, they're making these puts cheaper than they probably should be. And they're doing that for a reason. Eggplant emoji. I sold some call options and bought some shares, and it was significantly cheaper than exercising the shares. Yeah, I was going to say, so here's the thing. Like, you're paying a premium when you're doing this stuff with the options, but it is allowing the market maker to actually have to hedge your stuff. So it's up to you. Like, you can buy shares cheaper. It's just most people's shares are not getting counted towards the actual buy orders. So if you can route through IEX and it hits the lit market, then great, do it. But if, for example, for a lot of people, they can't do that because they're broker. So for some people, the options thing is what they want to do. And, you guys can do whatever you want with your money. Like, I'm not telling you how to invest it. So Matt says, what's up, Anon? Cheers, bud. Cheers. Keith said the 75 million plus volume seems to be the sweet spot for us. Yeah, I mean, we had decent volume day. What do we have, like 50, something like that? Is that right? Volume 54. Yeah, so, I mean, a little bit higher, but, it was higher than the day before, so we'll take it. Do you find it interesting that we get very little movement with these higher volume days compared to the lower? It all depends. So, like, for example, today they were trying to keep the price under 550 the entire day. Like, if we go to, like, for example, the 5-minute. So here we are, right? We start out the day. We had a nice little, we gapped up. So immediately they shorted it down. We hit a low of like 486, and then we kind of chopped around. And then right here, we start climbing. We get over VWAP. And then right around here, we got actually over the 550 mark, and things were good. went down, and then we were fighting all along this for the 550, and that's basically what today was. And then some bulls started to try to actually run it right before close, and these shorts freaked out, and they just started buying like tons and tons and tons of like in the money puts, and even out of the money puts, like just thousands of them, and that's how they were able to move the price down. It's dangerous though. So that means they're probably running out of shares, so they're having to actually use put options to basically do this. Now, grant, this market maker made them cheap for these guys, but at the same time, what ends up happening is if we still move up, all those puts are going to get burned, and then those guys are just going to be out money that they've been trying to suppress the price with. So you're starting to see them running out of ammo as far as like, yeah, they can slip naked shorts in there, and that's, you know, it's a possibility in this market. And to pretend that that's not a possibility is naive, because it does happen. Like anyone that's followed any sort of thing with GameStop or any of these, you know, like this happens more than people will admit. I'm not accusing anybody or any specific organization of doing it, but what I'm saying is it's definitely happening. Like the shares have been locked up for a long time. So, you know, where are they getting these extra shares? Who knows? You know. All right. So, but yeah, I do find it interesting that we don't get a ton of movement even with some decent volume. But then again, I watched the options chains the entire day, and I was going, holy crap, like it looked like it was going to explode. And then at the end of the day, they had to basically run it down. Like they had to buy a ton of puts that I don't think they wanted to do. Because if we get the same buying pressure that we got today, and they still have to spend that much money on those puts, like that's going to be dangerous for them. Because if, you know, if bulls just decide to start slapping the ass, you know, all day long, they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on, you know, in the money puts to try to keep this down. And that's dangerous because if the bulls win, they're out all that money. So just throwing it out there. All right, let's see. Waiting for the bots to tell me my next target price. Yeah, I mean, they were spot on last time, right? All right, so I have $3 and $4 calls expiring this Friday. What do I do? I mean, obviously, I don't give financial advice, so you can do whatever you want. But if you can afford them, you can exercise them, or like go in, excuse me, let them go into the close. And if your broker is one of the ones that allows you, as long as you have the cash to do it, you can make those into shares at those strike prices. Or, you know, if you want, you can sell them at any point. You know, it's up to you how you want to handle it. So, but if you were to, you know, hold them into, you know, the close, you're making the market maker hedge those shares, basically. They have to account for them, because if you do want those shares, then you'll go out and you'll actually, you know, be delivered them over the weekend. It seems like the 200 EMA is a huge resistance. Yeah, of course it is, because basically they're just trying not to make it, you know, if we pulled this across and, you know, if this blue line goes across there, that's a golden cross, and that's a very bullish sign for a stock. They can't afford to have that happen, because if that happens, then technical traders, all these, you know, like, you know, institutions are going to be like, oh, golden cross, boom, and that volume will pick up, and they'll actually have lit exchange, you know, volume. Right now they're fighting a couple retail whales, and for the most part, I don't think institutions are buying a ton. They might buy like a little bit here and there on, you know, earnings coming up, but because sometimes you buy the rumor, sell the news. All right, so we got 108 people watching. Smash the like button. Thanks. So far, hedging. Does it pertain to, so basically the way it works is weeklies, especially the week that you're in, those ones, the gamma matters more than, you know. I just noticed something I didn't realize. Yeah, so I guess this was today. That's a high inflow, and that's a huge outflow too. I mean, obviously we were up today, but like they must have sold or bought basically a ton of puts. Like, I mean, I have to go over the options. I haven't really prepared, to be honest with you guys. I was putting my kids to bed. But I'll have to look at some of these numbers because it looks like they spent a ton of money to try to get the price back down. Let's see. But yeah, so the weekly options will matter more about how much they have to hedge than things that are like 2-3 weeks out. Like you don't have to fully hedge May 20th options right now, but you do have to start hedging by tomorrow. You have to start hedging some of these, like, and that's why I think they're trying to push the price down so much, is because at this point right now, if they allow the 550 calls to be in the money, they have to start hedging them by tomorrow, like midday. And if that happens, then you're going to see a lot of buying pressure because, all the in the money's at 3, 4, 5, and then even 550 would have to start being hedged. And so they're going to have a price moving up. And so if they can't offset that with some in the money puts to drive down the price, they're going to be in trouble. Because I honestly think they're running out of shares as far as like, they borrowed a lot of shares and the shares now are very expensive to borrow. So what's going on, Wayne? What's going on, G-Man? Markets got smoked and ATER held up. Yep. That is correct. Matthew White. Did we get any info on FTDs today? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's do it all together. So let's take a look. Drink some scotch. Okay. So we did move down on the gamma. That might have been because of all the in the money puts that they bought. But yeah, we're still 1 and 3, so that's great. They borrowed basically all the shares they could. It looks like they did that at, like, by midday they had no shares left. That's probably why all the in the money puts had to be bought. Our cost to borrow it remained the same today, so we'll see what it is tomorrow, if it rises or if it just stays the same. My dog's like trying to get himself comfortable. All right, so they didn't use a ton of short exempts today. This has been interesting. So, yeah, so here's the FINRA aggregate short volume of 16 million of that. So about like 38% short ratio. And here's some FTDs. Now, we haven't gotten any FTDs yet because I think FTDs would come out on, let's see, by, I guess, on Friday we should have them, but it might come out on like the 28th or the 29th. It's supposed to be at the end of the month, so we should have that. So we don't have FTD data yet from the beginning. I think we did get a update though on the official short interest, right? Yeah. So this came out today, and the official short interest is higher. So it was a 6% increase from where it was last time. So, and then obviously Ortex has different numbers, than Fintel, but I wonder if they're covering FTDs on red days. I mean, they can. There's all sorts of tricks they have. Isn't Friday at... Yeah, so Friday's all that matters. Like, where the price finishes on Friday. So these bulls and bears are just fighting it out right now during the week, and they've got to save some ammo because the only day that really matters is OPEX, where you finish at, 359 into 4. So, bulls might be sitting there waiting and letting the shorts just kind of, you don't want if you're a bull, you don't want to use all your ammo before Friday because Friday is the day that matters. If you run it up to $7 and then by the time Friday rolls around, you drop it down to $4.50, you lost the week. So, say GME situation pops out. If they cancel the buy button like they did before, exercising early or playing it safe. Wait, what? Not asking for financial advice, but if I have Robinhood at the moment, if a GME situation pops off and they cancel the buy button like they did before, exercising early, is it stupid or playing it safe? I mean, you should be able to sell. Even when the Robinhood went off, sorry, when Robinhood like kind of screwed everyone over with GameStop, you were able to sell still. So it doesn't really matter. You should be able to at least sell with that. So does it sometimes take a second for the screen to adjust? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. From my side, I don't see anything, but if inflow is larger than outflow, is it a bad sign? No, I mean, you want to see money coming into the stock. This is just showing you, like, here's your large, here's your medium, and small. Like, what's happening, though, is I unless this is partly retail, just, we got some whales that are, like, large enough that they don't count as small. Like, you're having larger orders from retail, and my guess is they're falling in the medium side, because, like, most retail used to be able to afford, like, a couple of shares, but with the stock this price, you're gonna have a more medium size, because if people are buying a couple thousand or a couple hundred at a time, you might start falling into that medium. But it does look like, and this is maybe something that we can consider, because I think I talked about this last time. It is possible, because I'm seeing that the short interest or the shorting stuff is not that high. It's possible that there was some, like, long that's, I think I told you guys this before. If you ever watch Billions, there's, I think, like, episode, like, I don't know, like, it's in the beginning of Billions season 1. There's a thing where Bobby Axelrod is getting squeezed. And so he's getting squeezed, actually, I believe, by Paul Giamatti's dad, who has, like, friends in, like, all over the place that have money. And so one of his positions he was, short on, and he was getting squeezed by this guy. So he has to go to one of his, like, enemies, basically, and beg for shares. And so that happens sometimes. Like, a short hedge fund might go and approach a long and say, hey, listen, like, I know you've got, like, 4 million shares. Do you think you could start giving them to us, like lending them to us, and we'll go ahead and, be able to cover some FTD? Like, there's all sorts of things they can do. So, but yeah, like, it's possible that something like that happened, or maybe just an institution said, you know what, we're not looking to be here long, so this is a chance to get out. So we're going to unload. And so, you could see a distribution section where we gapped up in the morning, they sold out, all of retail starts buying in, or, whoever else that wants the stock long, might be another institution or us. They take out, and then they, take out. And so, but the thing is, institutions don't own that much. Just throwing this out there. So they can't do this forever. Excuse me. So when I say this, like, institutions only own, I believe, like 14 million shares total on a stock that has, 63 or something, like 62, 63 million total. So they can't do this forever. Like, once they sell and they're out, they're out. And so, I know some people are like, well, can't they just do this for? No, because, I mean, they only have a certain amount of shares. And once you sell your shares, then you're out. So, like, if this goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks, I get a paycheck every week. So, I can throw money in this and keep buying, and, I still don't think they have the shares. And so we know that because we're still on Reg Show, and I guess this was day 9, and we'll be going on day 10 of Reg Show. So, all right. How about the big sell orders coming through? If they're not being spoofed and they're showing being filled. Thoughts? Yeah, so, I mean, it's like I said, it's possible that there's a long that's selling out. Maybe they were convinced by a short. Maybe they just want out of the stock. But if you actually look, let me just show you this. If you go through and look at ownership, institutional owners, right? So if you go through here and start looking at who owns, what, excuse me. Let's see. That's a put from Belvedere. These are the most recent ones. That's from the 20th. Yeah, so somebody sold Lynn Capital. It doesn't show how much they sold them. It just says 0 and 0. But yeah, like, there could have been, like, some some institutions that are selling out of their positions. But if you actually look at how much they own, let's pull up, what is that one that everyone goes to? Whale Wisdom, or is that the name of it? Yeah, I think it's Whale Wisdom. So if we pull this over, right, and we say we want to look for Aterian, and we look through here and see how many shares are held, you'll notice that there's not a ton of like shares. Like these are calls, but like if you actually look, like say Vanguard's getting out, right? Vanguard only has about 2 million shares. Same with BlackRock. So like once they sell off 2 million shares, they're out, and you don't have to worry about them again. And so the same thing goes. Like, you know, you could have these longs. Basically, they're not long, but like they keep, you know, shares. So like say for example, some of the people that were shorting it were like Jane Street, or like, you know, they might convince their buddies like, hey, you sell your shares. We're trying to scare these apes out, you know, or you know whatever, the gators out. But once they're gone, then, you know, they would have to borrow more. Eventually, they run out of these shares. So they don't hold that many, is my point. Like, between mutual funds, there's only like 14 million that are accounted for by institutions. So, like, they can't do that forever, is my point. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's the one thing that I've noticed is the short interest has been low, which means that they are probably getting help from somebody else that's selling to help, you know, help them out, basically. Do you think ATER can hit 8 by the 20th? Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Like, I don't like deep out of the money, you know, calls. I wouldn't be banking on that. I would much rather have a 3 and a 5 for calls personally. That's what I have. You know, I know it's not as much money that you can make, but at the same time, I feel like those are safe, and I don't think the price will be lower than those by May 20th. So, yeah, I mean, if you consider the timing, IMJ, yeah, it seems a little desperate. Yeah, I mean, they're getting desperate. That's the thing. Like, they're throwing the kitchen sink at us, and like at these longs, and for us, we fundamentally think that the stock is undervalued. Like, if you look at their competitors, they're priced lower than their competitors. So, like, I don't think they're at fair value right now. The book value on them is $4.23. We're only $1 from that, so I feel confident buying down here. And my downside risk is like $2, $3 a share, versus my upside is a lot higher. To me, that's an asymmetrical bet, and I'll take that all day long. And I think there's more and more people. Like, every single time I've streamed, we're getting more and more people. I'm averaging, when I first started out, there was like 20 people in here, and now there's, almost 184 right now. So, and if you're one of those 184, apparently I'm supposed to ask you for a like and a subscribe. So there you go. They show up in the order book how they looked spoofing previously, but they're actually going through. Yeah, I mean, that, like I said, it's very possible that there was some sort of institution or somebody long that was selling, and that's totally fine. Remember, there are day traders coming in and out. They have millions of shares elated with 15% gains. Yeah, I mean, like, we went up higher. People took profits. Like, this is a mixture of people taking profits, people selling out. And, this could be an institution selling, that looks like distribution. Like, you sell down here, you let them build it back up. You sell down here, build it back up, sell. Like, and they sold all throughout the after hours, it looks like. That's fine. Like, let them sell. They only have a certain amount of shares. That's the way I look at it. So when tomorrow comes around, I'll probably be chopping around this, is my guess. Like, in the... this is roughly where we closed, right? We closed right here on this line. We only went down like a couple, like 2%. So I expect us to be down here or around here, but they're going to try to fight for 5. Like, that's what they're going to do. They need to get the stock lower because there's a lot of in-the-money calls right now that they need to hedge by tomorrow. And if they can't get them down, that's why, for me, I was just saying, personally, I like 350s and 4s for options this week if you're playing that, because I think they're going to get down and be able to push it down to like 450 and maybe even under like they did last week. So to me, I'd rather have those deep enough in the money where I don't have to worry. So for me, I think 350 is probably safe, and 4 is a little bit more risky, but still safe. 450 is I'm like, and that's where we were last week. So, all right. How about that 75% off exchange today? Yeah, I mean, if you guys, and this is not financial advice, but like if you guys want to trade and have your shares affect a stock price, you should change to a broker that actually allows you to route to the lit exchanges. Like, if you're not doing that, then you're not doing yourself any favors. If you're just sitting with a broker that, basically is doing payment for order flow, none of your shares are actually counting towards any buy pressure. So I'm just throwing that out there. Or are they suppressing us hard? Yeah, I mean, they need the stock to be under 550. Like, the fact that it went over 550 into the end of the day should have meant that they started needing to hedge some of these 550s. So what they did was they freaked out and they slammed it down as much as they could. So did they hedge the 5s? Like, honestly, they were probably de-hedging them as they pushed this down. So no, I don't think. I mean, they might have hedged some of them, but like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there was a lot of 5s, and I don't think they all got hedged. I think they basically were holding off, and they allowed puts to get super cheap, and then they pushed it down, hoping that they could de-hedge some of this stuff. Because I'm telling you guys, deep in the money, personally, that's my thing. Like, I don't think, if you're sitting there thinking 5 was confident, I mean, I can just bring back last week, and we thought 6s were confident going into the end of the week, and all of a sudden they pushed it all the way down from 7 down to, what was it, like 440 or something like that, where we finished. So, yeah. Yeah, so I don't think we can see institutional activity until, like, sometimes Fintel will give us, like, stuff a couple days after. So we should be able to see who sold out if that was an institution doing it. Wilma, why don't they just cover? Don't you Crest? Why do they play these expensive games? I don't know about Crest, but basically I think what you're asking is why are these guys doing this? I mean, they don't want to lose money. Like, do you want to lose money? I don't want to lose money. That's why. They think they can win because they get to cheat and they get to bend the rules, and they've got a market maker that's on their side. So, yeah, I mean, of course they're going to fight. Like, I wouldn't just roll over and die. Like, I looked at Aterian and I said something's, going on with this stock, and I got amped up and I started writing DD and explaining to people why I think that, my thesis is that, they've already sold out of all these shares, and, I think there's something off here. The fact that we're trading all those billions of shares since we've been, 100% utilization. You know who's having that same exact problem? GameStop. GameStop's on like day 50 something of like being at 100% utilization, yet there are shorts being made every single day. It's not a surprise. Like, we're both lined up in this thing where we're at 100% utilization and it hasn't dropped. And, that's why when people like kind of rolled their eyes and went like, how could this be the next GameStop? Well, there's a lot of similarities between the two, and I was in both of them. So, wow, no shares by midday. Yeah, I mean, they had to buy all those in the money puts. 10 p.m., 10 tomorrow, 10 p.m. I don't know if that was in reference. What about 6 pre-market? I don't think we're gapping up. I don't think so. But Michael said, hit the like button. Thanks, Michael. CKG. I'd say it was a win today, considering the markets. Yeah, like if the markets were ripping. So here's what you guys have to understand. I just want to make sure that everyone gets this point. So what ends up happening is when you have a down day in like the market, there are algos that basically get switched on and off for all of the like IWMs. We have shares in IWM. So there's an algo that's literally shorting every stock that's in that, like, that ETF. So you literally have headwinds and tailwinds at times when you're trading stocks. So like if the market's absolutely bleeding off and they're just shorting the crap out of like IWM or if S&P, if your stock is in that, like you have a headwind going into it, not just including your stock. You're going against an algo that's actually running in the background that's also selling off shares at certain times. Like if you track like the end of the day, we actually, I don't think I can put two stocks up next to each other, or at least I don't want to right now, but let's look at this SPY at the end of the day. What did the SPY do? Yeah, it bled off the entire thing. Now let's look at Aterian again. What did it do? It bled off the entire like day. Yeah, so like at the end of the day. So I'm just saying, like, if you look, there are similarities. There's algos that are built into this thing that are also running in the background. So this may have been a mixture of shorting, bid whacking, buying deep in the money puts, and also the market just selling off. And so there's an algo running in the background with IWM and some other ETFs that are holding this. So hopefully everyone gets that and understands that. So just like if you're flying in a plane across the United States, the trip from like California going to there, like if I'm flying from the East Coast to California, it's like 5 hours and like some minutes from where I live to out there. But if I'm flying from west to east, then my ride's like an hour shorter. So that's the difference between headwinds and tailwinds. Like if we had the market ripping, we might have actually been like even higher up. So okay, here we go. Let's read some more. Yeah. Hey, Anon, since you experienced GME and as I know, there were some of us that got profit, some of us didn't hit the sell button, which was disabled by the brokerages. Could you tell us how to react? I mean, I was angry, and I think you should be angry, and I think that was a bunch of bullshit, to be honest with you. I mean, they took away your ability to trade because those brokers sold more shares than they actually had. And then they got out of jail free and basically got like a slap on the wrist. Like that's some bullshit. So I mean, how would we react? Like if they pulled another GameStop, like honestly, I mean, there's gonna be lawsuits anyway. Like they already tried suing for GameStop. I'm hoping that at some point they get a little more information. They had a really bad judge down in Florida. But I would imagine at some point, you might eventually. The problem is all these securities lawyers are all corrupt, and the SEC, the whole system is just garbage. Like we have the technology right now to settle instantaneously. It would eliminate all this extra crap. Like if you were out of shares, you couldn't trade a share. Well, that's what blockchain does. But there's like. In our system, we have T plus 2, T plus 3, the T plus 35, 37. Like, we have all that rolling future. Like, they make this stuff so complex because they need to be able to hide when they mess up. And this is what they're doing. Like, they're basically trying to draw this out, hoping that there's some sort of escape hatch for them. And, they get away with it most of the time. The few times that they didn't, though, it was pretty amazing. So... But that's why I said, like, they can't let people know what's going on here. That's why you don't see anyone in the news talking about what Aterian's doing. They'll say the stock's down when it's down and try to convince people not to buy into it because this is exposing the dark underbelly of the market, which is that because of the system that we're currently in, which is the T plus system, you can get away with basically naked shorting. You can get away with, selling more shares than exist. Like you have all these things. And like, I'm not accusing any specific organization, but I'm saying that there is obviously a problem with the market. Like I linked a video inside the Discord that showed a gentleman went out and bought the entire shares outstanding for an entire company, small cap. Like, and you know what they did? within a day, 95% of the market value was gone of that because they shorted it all down, trying to get him to sell. He bought every share. He bought 100, I think it was like 112% of the company. He bought like the insider stuff. He bought like even the corporate charter stuff. Like he bought, there were no shares. And that same day when he bought the entire float and bought the entire shares outstanding, they end up shorting the stock down to like, 99% or something like that to try to get him to sell. Like he had every share. They couldn't possibly have done that. So, yeah. It was flat at close after 11% gains while everyone was in a free fall. Yeah, I'm fine with that too. And I'm smoking that Kush. Nah. I do not smoke. Long time ago I did, but not anymore. Let's see. You can sell, but with no buying pressure, the price drops. That's what happened with GME. Yeah, I mean, so if they take away the ability to buy, there's no way that you can do anything but go down. Like that's the truth. So something interesting I noticed about TD: some accounts with even options will not be direct route. Yeah, I tried routing through IEX and I didn't see my orders go through half the time. I put weird numbers just so I could see the orders going through, and I did not see them hit the Lille exchange. So I think they have some sort of option that, like, if they can't get it within a certain time period, they won't allow the ones to go routed through IEX, and they'll do like switch to a default, which is bullshit. So I need to look more into that, though, tomorrow, because that is interesting. During the GME sneeze, the buy button was turned off. However, people were still able to exercise options. This means only that people with capital could buy in, which reflects buying pressure. Yeah, I mean, that's what happened. How many shares are they allowed to lend? Well, apparently they can lend over 75%. They can lend technically every share if they want. Like, if somebody's willing to, take those shares and take down that risk, then sure, they'll let them float, or, I guess, short the entire company if they want. They can't short the insider shares, though. That's the only thing. So just so everyone knows. Okay. Who would buy a stock worth 300 and dropping? I mean, lots of people. You look at GameStop. When it came down, everybody was still buying. There were one or two shares. All right. What's the difference between being on loan versus the short interest on loan? Loan shares is 20 million and the SI is 11 million. Yeah, it makes sense. So, Rakesh, hopefully I said that right. You can borrow shares without actually shorting them. And people go, well, why the hell would you do that if you're, Well, here's the thing. If you know that the cost to borrow is going to go up, you just you borrow them and then you just hold them, because borrowing them at 60% is way better than borrowing at 129% or 124%, wherever we're at right now. So they borrow those shares with the intention of shorting them later, and that's what they do. So it does make sense. So you can borrow more shares that are just on loan but not actually short them because you're holding on to them to short, or you can shuffle them off using like bid whacking, or you can use them to reset things. It's there's a bunch of different reasons you can do it. I look forward to the stream every night. Oh, thanks, Bingo Vi. Whale buys 5.8 mil of Earth, or is that Earth? Oh, maybe it's million of ATER stock. Juicy stats on there too. Yeah, he spent 5.8 and bought like 1 point something million shares. So he owns like, I don't know, like 4% of the float by himself or something like that. Whatever the numbers push out to be. Dude, is your throat okay? Yeah, not really. I mean, I need to get some honey and tea. Yeah, I'm drinking whiskey just to kind of coat it right now. Let's go DC or D Chargers. All right, that's just part of it. They're able to go through the dark exchanges. Yeah, I mean, the off-market and dark pools are different technically, but it's all the same thing. They basically wash out your trades. And if you ever notice when you're going through here and they're flashing white most of the time those are ones that are offset. So like reds are actually sells, greens are buys, but notice like if we were to go through here and actually hit like the actual regular market hours, you would see tons of white happening, and those are getting washed out. So they're basically getting pushed off exchange and they're getting neutralized. So they're not a buy, they're not a sell. I think that's how this particular one does it for times and sales. But yeah, if you notice during the day when retail's buying, they're always white because they're getting pushed off exchange. So, any thoughts on the fundamentals, or are you just focusing on the squeeze play? Could this be a really profitable long-term hold? It could be. So, I mean, like, I know most of the people have just came here most of the time because they were interested in just the squeeze. But the truth of it is that, Aterian actually is it's got some warts, but at the same time, it could be a solid buy and hold company over the long term. The revenue is growing like quarter after quarter, and they're kind of just focusing on that portion. Like they're focused on growing the revenue. Their individual stuff, they're not as worried about. I heard, the CEO talk about that. But if you actually go in and look, for example, we'll go over the balance sheet when it comes out for the third quarter. But yeah, like this is my thought. If Aterian for some reason goes higher and at some point decides to, if it gets, I'm just throwing out some numbers. Like if it got all the way up to the warrants up at 25 for some reason, if it got that high someday, that cash would be clutch for the company because they need some cash. But if they also issued, like, for example, an ATM, everyone hates dilution. But at the same time, if you bought it like to a share and all of a sudden you were able to raise, like $500 million, your balance sheet, just off that, your stock might be worth $20 a share anyway if you were to raise that much cash, being a small cap too. Like, so I'm just saying, like, there is a fundamental play underneath this, and that's why I was attracted to Aterian versus some other stocks that had huge floats. And so Aterian's got some room to raise some cash, and if they were like a really like a good opportunity to raise some cash much higher up, yeah, I'd be totally for them raising some like cash and then actually improving their balance sheet. Because if you go long on this company, if they all of a sudden raised like $500 million, can do some M&A, which is mergers and acquisitions, you could literally buy yourself into profitability, and you all of a sudden maybe have if you've got some people have like 100,000 shares. Well, all of a sudden, if those are all worth $20 a piece because they have so much cash on their books and they made some good decisions and they just keep growing from that point, like that's a pretty interesting concept. So yeah, there could be long-term fundamentals on this too. For me, I DRS shares long ago and I'm not planning on touching them. I bought them when they were down, and I wasn't planning on doing that, so I will just hold those. And on your beautiful crayon eating son of a bitch, I love you and appreciate you for doing this every night. Thanks, Craig. I guess like and subscribe, right? That's what someone said to say. No bot so far. Yeah, it's interesting. They basically, I guess maybe once we get back up here in this range, they'll come back out. We just need to get a little higher, and then they'll say, we told you to sell at 7. 2 questions. Is there any way a market maker can stop the squeeze besides, I mean, they're already trying not to let this squeeze. Like you saw today, like they straight up were like, we don't want this thing going over 550. And they really tried hard not to allow that. So as long as they're hedged, though, they should be fine. Like, I don't think, they're doing that. Let's see. In a second, what are your thoughts on seeing a low and then continuing a leg up? Have we seen all the lows? I mean, honestly, I can't tell you that we've seen all the lows. Like, right now, technically, we were in an up channel, and then they just kind of slammed it down at the last minute. So it's really going to depend on, do we pop back up in the morning at some point? Do we come back up? And, 200 is right up here. So if we were to change this time frame to like the 15-minute. What are we doing here? Is that the 200? No, we're not above it, right? That must not be right. Maybe on the 1 hour. Okay. Yeah, so in the 1 hour, we're right here, and then let's look at the daily. The 4 hour. Yeah. Must be on the daily, right? And the daily, we're not there yet, so that's all it is we bounced off it right there, and then tomorrow we're going to have to get that up and over, and then hopefully drag this 9 over that. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did, but I can tell you that just looking at Aterian right now, if we're able to get volume, move a little bit up, and get back in this channel, like that'd be a really nice thing. They're going to try really hard to keep the stock down because they need the stock to be under basically 550. And that's why like buying the deep in the money ones was more important than trying to YOLO and try to get, the 6, 7, 8, 9. Like those ones are probably going to expire worthless if you don't get the base going. So you can't build a tall tower without good structure underneath. So common courtesy, in my opinion, to hit the like if you're going to listen to someone on YouTube. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that. High frequency trading, synthetic shares, puts will help get this market maker get the price down. Yeah, I mean they're going to pull out the stops because this stock is dangerous to them. It is. Like everyone likes it when I say, "Oh, they're in trouble," but like they might be in trouble, and that's why they had to use a ton of in the money puts. And we'll pull up the options sheet in a second. But can you go over the stats that a retail holder can refer to, like RSI, swing, MACD, EMA? I'd like to see incoming volume so people don't panic at the worst times. Sure. I mean, like just right here. So this is your volume bar, and you can set these up however you want. Like on Webull, for example, you've got your MMA, or this is your moving average. This is your Bollinger Bands. You can pull VWAP up to if you want to. VWAP is a very important tool because it gives you a reference of where the stock is right now and where, things tend to go back to VWAP is what I will tell you. When you start trading and you start learning where the VWAP is, you'll notice that things tend, if you're way down here for a long time, eventually you're going to go back to VWAP because that's just, it's a very important indicator. OBV, ADL, these are just different indicators that you can use on balance volume, accumulation distribution line. Your MACD is an oscillator, and it basically shows you like if you're getting lots of like volume and like price increase, and then when it switches over, usually you'll start seeing red. And so like you'll see these crossovers happen throughout the day. Same thing if you want to look at stochastic, same sort of thing. They should pretty much correlate with right here. Like you're crossing over into this MACD, you're crossing over a little bit ahead of time on the stochastic, and then crossing over there. And you see the MACD up here, and then this is just the visual of that. So your EMAs is your exponential moving averages. They tend to move a little bit faster than some of the simple ones, and so you want to see volume, like throughout here. You want to see if you're getting tons of buy volume. Now there's always mixtures. Like if this is red, there was also buying happening in these. It's just whatever ends up being more prominent during that hour or that minute or that 5 minute. That's what it's going to show up as on the chart later on. So like there was buying pressure in the middle towards the end of the day, and then selling pressure at the end of the day, and there was selling pressure in the beginning of the day. And if we go down to like, there's the end of the day, and there's the beginning of the day, right here. So, outlook for tomorrow. I want to buy more ATER. Don't want to be too early. Yeah, I mean, so look for dips. It's all going to depend on how everything shakes out. I don't know if DZ has put out anything, but he's done pretty well on nailing kind of like where the bottoms are with the I think what's it called? His sniper tool. So he's been basically kind of nailing out like where the dips come through. If you're on the Discord, we have a Discord. If somebody can throw up that link for Derp, if you're not in there already, but like people call out where they think the bottoms are, or if we're a bunch of retail traders. We don't know for a fact, but we've done a pretty good job kind of mapping things out in different fractals and where things go. Let's see. Outlook for tomorrow. What's max pain for this week? I think it's either 450 or 5. It may have changed since today, though. So let's take a look and just see. All right. So Stock Ninja has it at. So right now they have max pain at 5. What's this one have? That's not what I want. It's this one. So they have it at 450 on this one. So it's either 450 or 5. It's max pain. So, and it really is going to depend on which one goes through. Do you believe we can see 8 this week? I mean, 8 would be a stretch. I think 7 something would be kind of more in line. But it all depends on what's going to happen tomorrow. Because if there's a ton of buying pressure that has to happen, then yeah, I could see us touching 7 into maybe 8. But I would say the chances of that are pretty low at this point because it looks like they're really trying to defend that 550. So maybe 6 something. But I don't know if we get to 7 or 8. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. I could be wrong. We get tons of volume tomorrow, and this thing could squeeze the moon. I don't know. But, based off what I'm seeing so far, I'm a little more hesitant to be like, yeah, it's going to 8 tomorrow. I don't know. Do you want a FOMO or hold on to something happens? Don't feel weird asking for likes and subscriptions to your page. Not social media advice. We need more people to listen and spread this knowledge. If you're here, do your part, like the video. AMC too. Okay, so AMC also has 100% utilization. Do you know how many days it's? I know I'm a little bit farther behind, but do you know how many days AMC has been out on 100% utilization? I know for Aterian, it happened on March 8th, which was earnings, which was right here. So since right here, there have been no shares of Aterian, or at least 100% utilization. So that was 50 days ago for us. Same basket, yeah. I mean, most of these meme stocks are trading in these ETF baskets that they're shorting down, and I've read some of the theories up behind how that works. Not financial advice, but we'd be lucky to hold 5 tomorrow with the market selling off the way it is. Yeah, I mean, that is true, Hassel. Many will put money into ATER around 5, seeing the stock could be in a better shape than others. Fridays is going to be the battle. Yeah, I think that's very, very good. This feed is playing on my 75-inch TV. That's awesome. I don't have a TV that big. But good for you that you got it there, D. And if this market rebounds tomorrow, do you think we have a possibility of hitting 7-8? Yeah, I mean, like I said, if we had tailwinds going with us, and they, for example, maybe Friday of last week, if we had tons of volume, and there was tons of retail buying, and they now have to find shares, then yeah, I mean, we could make a run. And I'm just saying at this point, I'm hesitant, and that's why I believe that deep in the money ones are the safer bet, because we got up into the 7s before, and then everyone lost sight of how to keep that pressure there, and the stock dropped down, and nobody was down here at the bottom, buying the base and making sure that everybody on the top was, that was chasing 10s, for last week, and all those people lost money. Everything's rigged against the low guy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much, but. Education, I think, is the great equalizer. The more you know about these markets, the better you can trade and the better you can make decisions. So Amazon Business. Hey man, a quick question. Do you think a DRS could be more mainstream? If you feel like whales in your Discord and the whales bought 1.3 million, could they DRS and make a huge impact? Yeah, I mean, I've always felt this way, that like, the problem with the transfer agent, which is Philadelphia transfer agent, they cannot sell your shares at their brokerage. So you still have to transfer them out of there. So it would have to be somebody that says, you know what, I'm just not willing to sell down at $5 a share, and I don't care if it takes 2 or 3 days for my shares to get back to a brokerage. So, I mean, in most people I've noticed is everyone wants it to happen, but nobody's willing to be the first one to do it. So I did it, and it wasn't that bad. And what I did instead was I started buying some call options. That way I could sell those and not have to worry about missing anything. So I bought like leaps, basically, like mini leaps, like 6-month, leaps. So that way, if this moves up, I can sell the options and just keep my DRS shares. And I'm not planning on getting rid of them. So, but yeah, DRS, honestly, it takes away some of this corruption. Not all of it, but like if retail really does own the entire float, and if every single person DRS their shares, they would have a huge problem. Hi, crypto. Okay, bye. No, I mean, it's not just crypto. We talk about everything here, Stacy. But yeah. Give me 2 seconds. I need to talk to my wife for a second. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. My dog's a spaz, too. All right, so let's see. Patience is the name of the game. All right, although for the first time, Bazinga said something positive about Aterian. Yeah, I mean, at some point they're going to have to explain why this is happening to the masses, and you can't tell them that there's probably, more shares sold than exist. So you have to like make up like, oh yeah, they had a good quarter. Like they can't say the truth. That's why forget about GameStop, forget about Aterian. Like that's the whole thing. Anon, can you make a national TV appearance and show the world what's happening while bringing us millions of new investors? Sadie, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like number one, no one's asked me to talk about this stuff, so that's not really a thing. I do have a buddy of mine, and we've kind of talked about getting together. So he's a director, and he's directed some like documentaries and some music videos and some he's a good guy, and he's like, I think there's a story to tell here about these small caps and GameStop. Like he was in GameStop, he was in AMC, and he's in Aterian now, and he was like, I think there's something here, for a story that's not really been covered about these like small caps that are just getting like abused, and like kind of you're an interesting guy as far as like I was a Marine, and I'm not like formally educated on any of this stuff. I kind of taught myself, and he just he thought that was an interesting story, and it would also bring attention to, obviously an issue that we're having in this country, which is, the U.S. equity markets are pretty corrupt, and but he's like, you'd have to show your face, and that's something that kind of, I'm not sure if I want to do that, just because, I mean, they're literally like the other side of this. They're not happy with me. They don't like what I'm doing. Like, I've got a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, soon to be 2 and 5, and I've got a young family, and do I really want to like put my family out there in harm's way, when there's millions of dollars on the line for people, people do stupid stuff for way less money. So I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about, and I got to talk to my wife about and see. I mean, the one thing I don't like bullies, and I don't like stuff like this. That So I'm considering it, and then at that point, obviously, I wouldn't be anonymous anymore. So, but yeah, I mean, it could at least bring attention, but it would probably take a while to kind of get together. I don't think it would be like instantaneously. And at this point right now, nobody's asked me. React to the buy button turned off by sending letters to your representatives, set up protests, create movement. Honestly, there's no way to do it so pressure your Congress. Yeah, I mean, I've been in touch with my congressperson many times, and I always get like these generic letters back, like, thanks for your concern, we'll go ahead and take a look. So we have 226 viewers and 46 likes. Yeah, if you could hit that. Do you think we'll see more low days in the 4s? Do you think we have good support at... I mean, we had support at... I mean, we hit 408, and then I think, didn't we hit down in 3 something down here? Was that right? If I go to like the 1 hour... We hit like 405. Was that our low? Recent low? Yeah, so we hit 405, I guess, and then bounced off that. So we didn't even get down to the 393. We could have, but like 393 is a strong support for us. It took them forever back here. I don't know if I can pull this up. Maybe go to the daily. It took them forever to get below this, like, maybe it was 293 that I was thinking of, but yeah, I think it was 293. It took them like an entire day of just like slamming 293 to get below that. So that wasn't the same one. And then they used it as a resistance coming back up, like you can tell. Now in this case, I think that $4 was support. So like 405 is what we bounced off of. So, and I think we had the loading zone, the tip of it, at like 408. That's what DZ had set up. So I threw it up on my chart, and we bounced perfectly off of it. So he was pretty accurate on that. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. They've got, infinite ammo, basically, because nobody ever holds them accountable. But you don't have to win every day to bring, like, they're on the clock. They're on reg show. They're on, there are ways of weaseling out of things, but like for the most part, they've got FTDs piling up right now. And we won't know until May like 15th how bad it's gotten for them. But I can tell you right now that, like, for me, I can buy and hold these shares forever. I can do this for years. I don't think they want to do this for years. So, I mean, that's what they're ending up doing with GameStop. Like, but the difference is the shares at this price down here and the low float, they can't do that forever, because it would just take retail a couple of months of just buying. They would lock up the float like multiple times over. So, I mean, it is what it is. I guess if you route IEX, then you have to slap the ask. Market orders are delayed. That's what Jay Rich said. If you route IEX, you have to slap. Okay, so you have to do a market order, basically. Wait. You have to slap. So you have to bid higher than what the actual price is what he's saying. I had mine through IBKR, IEX every time. I have to set it through the right pro version, though. Yeah, Robinhood is paying for its crap. CNBC says Robinhood's, but they want you guys to buy Hood. Remember, the bots wanted you guys to buy Hood. Hood going to the moon. Remember all the green-eyed apes and. Honestly, I think we could gap down. This is Reroll Gaming. We can gap down to 509 area, spring back, and end up 664 tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, if you look at like the fib levels, like that's all stuff that could happen, and it really just depends on how much we're gonna get. What causes the tide to turn in GameStop's favor? If the same thing's happening with ATER that ultimately turns the tide, do we need crazy volume? What needs to happen? For Gavin. All right, so the issue right now with GameStop is once they had, and this is actually smart of the shorts, they held it into kind of like this no man's land because retail doesn't have a ton of money. These institutions have all the money in the world, but retail does not. Retail has not an infinite amount of ammo. So if your average person right now, right, says maybe I make $50,000, and I might have an extra $100 or two every 2 weeks. They can choose to buy that in GameStop, but GameStop for a long time was sitting at like 200 a share or like 180. So you might be able to get one share out of that person. So what GameStop is doing is they're doing a stock split, which is very smart. Because your shorts have to basically then split the same way. So if you have 10 million shares shorted on GameStop, and they do like a 5-to-1 split, you now have 50 million shares shorted on GameStop. But retail can start affording these shares again, and so that's what essentially GameStop needed to do probably months ago. To be honest with you, like I thought they should have split like back when they still had like the iron hot and just absolutely finished the shorts, but nobody did it back then. I don't know why. Excuse me. So now you have Aterian, and the thing is, the lower they keep the price down here, the more shares that retail actually can buy and hold, and it dries up liquidity. Like people are like, well, why is the volume going down? Well, retail already bought up all the shares, so like, of course they're going to be lower. Like, it is what it is. But yeah, so like GameStop, they needed to do the stock split a while ago, but they should do it. Hustle Up's got a Mad Haddon in my honor. Thank you. Well, cheers. I don't know if you could hear that, but that was me cheersing my mic. All right. If I am in one of those 8 months ago, this is all manipulation and I'm asking questions, happy for the squeeze. I am also in the retail industry. Not financial advice. Anon's head must hurt from having such a big brain. It's funny. I'm not really that smart. I don't know. Like, I mean, I've been doing this for a while, so I some of the stuff I guess just like I used to joke that like the only reason why I'm good at explaining things is because I'm so dumb that I have to get it like pounded into my head so much that I can figure out how to explain it to other people. So. Yeah, I'm not really that big-brained or wrinkle-brained. There are plenty of people that are much smarter than I am. So, but I do work hard, so that goes for something. I do put in a lot of work and effort, and I try to read new things every night. And I'll be honest with you, like streaming is obviously new to me, and I'm not very good at it. And honestly, I don't know why you guys sit around and listen to me. Like I wouldn't listen to me. This is a really boring format. Like, I don't have cool pictures. You're not even looking at me talking about it. Like, at least on other people's that you can see. But, like, I'm trying to remain anonymous. So, but, I wouldn't watch me. That's all I can tell you guys. But good for you guys for listening. All right, let's see. I don't see put options heavy in the money. So I don't know how they shorted the last 15 minutes. All right, let me just do this. Let me pull up the options chain, and we'll take a screenshot of it and bring it over, and then we can take a look at it together. Because honestly, I wasn't watching the end of the day that closely. I had some stuff at work I was trying to wrap up, and then I was talking to one of my buddies, and So let's do this. I'm going to need to log in. I'm going to need to go to the options chain. All right, so we got the weeklies, and I want to grab. All right. So I'm going to do a print screen just for the next 2 weeks, and then where's my mouse? There we go. There we go. So I'll clip this out. All right. I'll try not to die on you guys. All right, here we go. So I'd like to do my little color thing. So, if you guys watch me for a while, you'll figure out how I do my color. So I always do yellow in the money on both sides for calls and puts, and I'll show you guys in a second what I'm doing. I always do red as burned. But we are still early in the week, so this is not obviously going to be perfect, and it's not going to be how things shape up tomorrow. Usually the later in the week you go, the more you can actually, get a good sense of where the options are going to go. And in this case, we're going to put the 26, and it's for this week. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, good. We should be up now. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you guys can see a little better. All right. There we go. That should look a little better. All right, so right here is what I was talking about. So they made these super cheap. Like, if you look, you're paying almost $1 for a 450 call. Puts typically, even though it's out of the money, that's pretty cheap for a 450. And these were cents. Granted, I'm just saying normally it doesn't get that skewed where you're paying pennies. You can load the crap up on, these if they're only a penny. And that's going to cause at least some amount of hedging. So what they did was, the end of the day, they started filling up these right here. And even though these numbers are big, this could also be sold, you could also have bearish calls. So they could have been stacking some $6, sold calls, or they could be, but this is what they're doing. They're building up this ramp right here, this kind of reverse ramp. And this is what they did last week. So what they do is they get this filled up down here, just like we've got this filled up here for the $6 right here, because these are pretty cheap. It's like a quarter to, which is $25, right, per each one. So what ends up happening is they create this reverse gamma ramp down. They already have this open interest sitting here, and then they've got 1 million shares at 1.1 or something like that, right? 1.2 million shares at 4.5, $4.50. So what they'll do is they'll start actually then spending money up here to drive down the price. So once you get this to move down, now you start to getting to hedge these, and you have to de-hedge these. And so that's what they did last week. At the end of the week, they basically built up this reverse gamma ramp, and then they just basically started spending money up here to drive down the price. Once that price drops down, they get to de-hedge all of this stuff here, and they get to start hedging this stuff. So hopefully that explains kind of what they were doing today. That, between let me think about how to, between maybe a long selling and all this other stuff, they're able to also do stuff like that where they are playing with the options chains to help drive down the price. So, is it collusion? I don't know. Did they talk to somebody else and say, hey, listen, we'd like you to get rid of your shares. Maybe we'll scratch your back on this other play. Who knows what they do in Wall Street? I mean, it seems like they go hang out in these bars and they talk to other funds and all of a sudden things happen. But, it is what it is. 140 likes and you have to refresh the stream for it to show. Okay. So, I guess we have... All right, so let's see. DZ did say this will consolidate for a bit. Yeah, I would imagine it will probably shake out where we're just going to kind of, come out. I mean, this was the start, two things can happen. Either we're going to basically consolidate in this area for a couple of days, and then obviously into next week is going to be very important because we get the FTD data at the end of the week, and then going into the May, we should be able to at least, earnings come out 3 days later. So we'll see. There's a lot of stuff going on, and my birthday's coming up. So let's see. Are there any other YouTubers like to listen to? Ones that have solid DD as well? I'm just curious because I listen to several. So here's the honest truth, and the reason why I'm even here is just because people in the Discord were feeling like most of the people that were covering Aterian weren't actually covering the thesis and going into the underlying of why the stock is moving the way it is. Typically, they're day traders, and what they do is they rip off 20% gains, and then they tell everyone how smart they are. And that's good and great, and you make money that way. That's awesome. But there's an underlying thing here, and that's kind of what they wanted me to express, which is there's a reason why the stock was so low for so long and then all of a sudden just ripped out of nowhere. And it's because, there was some issues with the stock's liquidity. And so that's not something your average YouTuber covers because, I think Zip Trader did a decent job because he actually, I think, my guess is he read some of my DD and then was able to kind of like look into it himself and realize, this is completely like effed because they should never have pushed the stock down this low. And someone like him, he's scanning, what's moving. So what he probably did was he saw the first couple of days of movement and was like, what's going on with this thing? And then, or he heard the social media buzz about it over this weekend and might have told his guys to buy in that first day. A lot of those guys are smart. They know what that's going to do. And so, what does it say? Peering into a short interest. Yeah, I guess they were talking about that on Webull. But, yeah, I mean, the stock's moving for a reason, and most average YouTubers are talking about, how much they can rip and, one leg of a transaction, and that's fine. But they felt like, when you start looking at why I identified this, it was because there were divergences in the indicators, and the volumes didn't match up. And I'm submitting stuff to the SEC and the DOJ because I think there are issues with what's going on with the stock right now. Like, you shouldn't trade over 1 billion shares while 100% utilization on a float that's 26 million shares. That doesn't make sense. So, like I said, I'm surprised you guys even listen to me in this format because it's boring, but, I just have a screen up and I talk. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Yeah, March 8th is when we hit 100% utilization. Shouldn't it be considered hard to borrow at this point? Yeah, it's hard to borrow. It's right there. This is where, right here, hard to borrow. And you can see they actually have a 200 maintenance requirement, which means that you have to have double basically it's shortable but hard to borrow. But hard to borrow basically just means when you're at a broker that they're not going to give it to you. You basically can't borrow at your broker. Yeah, if you're a retail broker, unless you're IBKR or one of the more the bigger ones. But hard to borrow is basically any stock that they know is volatile, and they don't like those because they can gain and lose a lot of money. But most of the time on those, retail might actually make money, so they don't want to actually lend them out, or or they don't want retail losing money on the other side of it if they're shorting it. So just throwing it out there. How many days did GME hold utilization? I think it's still actually at 100% utilization right now. And I think it's like in the 50s, like Aterian is. So just add market score 5 is, and S3 is 70. This is from the Bloomberg terminal. Does anyone have access to the S3 data? I don't, Keith. I do not. When Anon? Right now. I'm still streaming. Yeah. Yeah, I had to step out for a second. I'm back, though. It's funny. I'm always like 15, 20 minutes behind on reading the comments. All right. I think ATER should emulate Super Snock, have more daily information, DRS, shares. Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be a bad thing. The Bazinga post was a subtle hit piece. It wasn't positive. They portrayed the short interest as 20%. Yeah, so what they did was they basically took the old numbers without the private placement. So that's all it is. But yeah, they do this all the time. So Bazinga was like, they want to tell people it's not as, it's not another GameStop. They don't want people to read my DD. They want to keep people away from, finding this stuff. And so that's why it was important for us to actually like get on YouTube and talk about it and bring a little bit, at least more knowledge to your average person that's trading this stock. And, I'd rather be sitting around watching TV with my wife right now. That's what she's doing. But, I'm hanging out with you guys. So there's a story to tell here. Interested, educated, enthusiastic individuals rally around a stock ticker. Rare that a group like this gets this far. Anon, I'd be happy to contribute. Thanks. I lost my 41-year-old son this past year. Family is the most precious gift you'll ever have. Family first. At some point, risk aversion has merit. Yeah, I'm sorry, but Jay Rich, that is a tough thing, and no parent should ever have to bury their child, and I'm sorry for your loss. And on Pete Chubb's War and Truffle. I don't know if there was a follow-up question with that. He just wanted to say my name. Good evening. Good evening. Fun. All right. Sam Winchester. Don't do it, Anon. In the U.S., anything's possible. Hedge funds have people killed. I know 2 victims. Don't disclose your identity to the media. Yeah. Thanks every night. Thanks for taking your time every night to do these live sessions. Can you give us an update on the Patreon subs to make sure we're rewarding you for your times? Yeah, I do have a Patreon. I was going to say, I usually just do it at the end, but I guess I could do it now. I just have to pull it up because I don't have it like at my fingertips. I have to like figure it out where the link is. But yeah, I mean, the goal eventually is if I can make this my full-time job. My wife said I can't take a pay cut, but if I'm able to get up to where I'm at now for my salary, then I'm allowed to switch jobs, and I could just do this all day long with you guys and trade with you and research and do stuff like that. All right. So apparently smash the like, subscribe. I'm buying up weeklies and keeping up as long as this goes. Most of us here have the ability that small amounts adds up fast. Yeah, I mean, do what's best for you guys. You don't have to trade that way. You can just buy shares if you want, and it is what it is. I'm lucky enough that I'm able to put some pressure on because I don't think they have these shares, and so I like it. Even though I'm paying more, I like thinking that I'm being a pain in the ass to them, and that to me at least makes me happy. So. And a lot of people are confused about exercising in the money options. I don't play options, but maybe explain how to do it and when. Oorah. Okay, so he was a Marine with me. All right. Ooh fucking rah. All right. So basically, exercising options is when there's a button on your options that says exercise. And when you click that button, it says, do you want to exercise your options? What happens with that is as soon as you click that and say yes, your shares then are allowed to be de-hedged from a market maker. And when that happens, you become a T plus 2. So your shares should be delivered in T time, like time or day, or like today, plus 2 days. So, excuse me. So what ends up happening then is if you exercise, say, on a Monday, your stuff would be due by like Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when you exercised it. The problem with that is your market maker can de-hedge those. And so during those 2 days in between, it's not adding any additional hedging on their part. They actually get to de-hedge. So that's why some people, want to let them go all the way to the end of the week, though it is more expensive to do it that way. So it's not for everyone. And so if you want to get your bang for your buck, then yeah, you don't do that. So it just, I'm not telling anyone to do that. I'm doing it just because I like being a pain in the ass to the market maker, because this market maker screwed over so many people last year, and I didn't like it. So I even wrote DD. I was like, listen, this market maker is going to F all you guys with out the money options. And of course, nobody listened. They were just looking at the gamma ramp, and they got completely screwed. And I don't like that. I don't like it when retailers lose their shirts. And so I just try to, do what I can to help educate people and go from there. Do you know how there are days they covered before the run, the price still dropped? I feel like it happens in a lot of people's hands are going to run. Yeah, so here's the thing. I've been in the stock for a long time. I watched it bleed from all the way up here, all the way down to 210, the 52-week low. I can hold. And I think if more and more people are willing to understand what this is all about, they will probably also hold. And there is a poison pill that we could take also, which is if we decide that we don't like, if they push the stock back down to 2 or 3 and we start buying more shares, and then we decide we're just going to DRS all of our shares and we don't have any interest in giving them any options, we could do that. And if we DRS more shares than actually exist in the float, well, then there is a huge problem. So, I mean, there is definitely a poison pill that we can take. If they decide that they're going to drive this down, I'll go. I have no interest in selling down here. I'll DRS every share I got, because I've bought new shares that I haven't DRS'd yet. I DRS'd my original shares from back up here, like in this range. So I can easily go ahead and DRS my new shares, and I don't care if I'm on a cash only account. I'll DRS them anyway, just in case there was a loophole that they're able to somehow lend up my shares. So, yeah, I mean, people have to realize that there's a lot of options, and you have more power than you think you do. So, and do you think, in your opinion, that ATER moves in a squeeze like other stocks will follow? Can it be the shock to start the tsunami? It's too small, I'll be honest with you. So here's the thing. No one's going bankrupt, and no one is losing anything over Aterian right now. That's just my thing. Because the market cap is just so small at this point, and because it's a very tiny float, this is not going to cause anyone to get margin called. It can cost them a lot, but it's not going to be unless some of the smaller funds get pulled and then they raise the price astronomically high and then it puts pressure on the big guys. I don't see that happening personally. But I think it still can squeeze, and it can move up much higher fundamentally, and also, excuse me, and also, through short interest covering. So either one, it's going up in my opinion. And so I'm willing to just hold my shares and keep buying, and that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, I don't have a price prediction for tomorrow. I'm at this point right now, we're basically in this weird, it could go up, it could go down, we could chop around. I think there should be some shares due. And if you look at the stochastic, it looks like it's starting to cross over. And if it does cross over, if you look at some of the crossovers, when it crosses over, usually what you see is some upward pressure. So we had downward pressure, stochastic, was bleeding, and now today we just kind of went through. So could we see a crossover and see a higher move up? Could it bounce off of here and, make another run? Sure, it can. But it can also just get as easily pushed down like the last couple of hours of today, where they're going to throw the kitchen sink at it to keep it under 550 and then under 5 too. We're learning from those years of experience. That's what we listen. Does anyone use the promos? I actually have not used it yet. I mean, I know they have them. I just bought it full price because I wanted the company to get my money. You pump out essence, no foo-foo. That's why we're listening. Thanks, Steph. Listen in for a sense of community. The stream keeps a lot of people on board who would have jumped ship a long time ago with the volatility. Yeah, and that's why I'm doing it. I mean, I know it's a pain at times because I'm like, I just want to go to bed. Some nights I'm like, ugh. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I'm willing to do it because a lot of you guys stuck with me for a long time, and it didn't look pretty. And I said at some point we're closer to the bottom than the top, and I think that we're finally seeing that. When this newest run, when we were down here, it was pretty miserable, and people were very unhappy. And so we finally had a nice move up. We're going to consolidate. We're going to move up, and I expect us to see 7s and 8s, and in the future, I do. And I expect to see higher than that if shorts actually start covering. So, but if you look, I believe the stochastic is about to cross over, which means that we could have some upward pressure. It could bounce here. We have enough room on the RSI that we can make another run up. So anything's possible at this point. All right, so let's see. If hedge funds bought these in-the-money calls today, what does that do for standing in the squeeze? Nothing. It just allows them to cover at certain prices, and that's fine. It's going to be then on the market maker that doesn't have these shares anymore, and then they're going to be in trouble. So these shorts can sometimes screw over a market maker because they can end up basically, if the market maker isn't hedging properly, they can get caught with their pants down. So just throwing that out there. 184 likes. Well, thank you guys. I'm always always on the road. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, somebody said I'm like their new gym workout mix. They get to learn about the stock and some stuff on the stock market and get their workout in. It's crazy how this has been 100% utilization since March 8th. How long was GME on 100% utilization? I think they're still on. I think both of us and AMC have been on 100% utilization for days. Literally almost a month and a half, maybe more. What do you think of the SPY crashing? I mean, it was long overdue. To be honest with you, they're raising rates. I knew it was going to happen around this time. I called it out a long time ago. If you kind of look at where we were, I was going to wait till it was 480 to short the SPY, and of course we and then I was like, oh, I missed it. So I've played some. What's going to be interesting is if we lose certain levels here. If we broke an area of support. And so there is probably more downside, unfortunately, because that's going to cause, obviously, if you look at the MACD right here, we're not close to crossing over yet. It might be another day or two before it crosses over and starts heading higher. So, and you're looking at almost oversold right now on the daily. So we'll probably cross over in the next 2 days and have an upswing for a second. So that would be coinciding with next week also for our stock. So Yeah, the market is correct. I know everyone here just watches Aterian, but yeah, actually, Hoot. Yeah, and I was gonna say I'm not gonna talk bad about Hoot. Hoot actually contacted me and said that he read my DD and actually had learned some stuff about Aterian from me. So he actually said that if I wanted to, I could do a video with him and we kind of just talk about Aterian and stuff like that. So fix your throat. I do need to fix my throat. I need to probably get off. What time is it? It's coming up on 11. I'll end it in 10 minutes. So. Is it better to buy shares or deepen the money calls? The highest profit, disregarding risk. So options are always more risky than commons, is what I'll tell you. Like commons you can hold forever. Options always have a theta element to them. So, your safer bet is to buy commons. If you're not routing through IEX, though, then you'll probably not actually see market pressure from your buy, but just throwing it out there. Don't undervalue yourself. We didn't find you entertaining. We'd watch somebody else. We're trying to learn about the market. Thanks, Dustin. I've been following Anon for about 8-9 months with ATER. I can tell you he doesn't sugarcoat anything, and he gives up straight up data, both good and bad. Yeah, I mean, like if I don't like something, I'll tell you I don't like something. Like I'm not going to sit there and tell you that. Oh, thanks. They said I have a good voice. So do we end this week over 6? I mean, we could. It's. I know people want like this. Listen, so I don't have a magic ball where I'm just like, yeah, that's going to happen. Like, I can't tell you that stuff. If I could, I'd be really rich and I wouldn't be doing YouTube. What I can tell you right now is that we have the possibility of, if the stochastic crosses over and we start heading up, we could have more buying pressure into the end of the week. That's possible. But, could this come through and then go bearish and, we could have another downswing and put us back in this down channel. That's possible too. Hit that loading zone again for the end of the week. And then this is where I think the fireworks start happening, is in May. So it will all depend on how things end up shaking out into the end of the week, and then starting in May when we start getting a glimpse of the FTDs at the end of the week. And then by May, we've got earnings coming up on the 4th or the 5th, roughly. So, yes. I have to go now. Sorry. Love you, Anon, and everyone else in here. Thanks. Yes. And Dustin. Oh, thanks, Dustin, for the, I think they're called super chats or something. Can't wait till you go full time. Yeah, me too, bud. Me too. Be nice to actually trade with you guys and talk to you guys like that. Can someone explain why the SPY is important in particular, not just any? So the SPY is just like a general, like those are the biggest stocks in the like entire like stock market. Like the S&P 500 are the largest cap, like biggest stocks. And so they're a good barometer for like why, like if the market's tanking, like if the SPY is tanking, usually so is the NASDAQ, so is the Dow, so is like, the smaller like IWM, they usually run together. Not always, but like they typically will move up and down together. So like if there's a war, for example, like in Ukraine, we actually saw downward pressure, and that was across the board. It wasn't, so anything that's in those algos turn on and they say, okay, we're going to shuffle off some shares no matter what it is. And it's market wide. So. All right. You've been saying that you are buying only deep in the money calls. What would you consider deep in the money in relation to Aterian? Dave, so what I'm talking about is I have 350 calls going into this week, this OPEX, and $4 calls, I think. And then I have 350 and 5s going into May 20th. And I think one of them obviously is out of the money. That's my YOLO play at $5, which we're already at $5, but that's my YOLO play. But 350 is where the most of my position is, with the deep in the money calls, and that's just it. All right. So somebody said, "Do you think we'll get volume we needed this week?" I don't know. I mean, we've gotten decent volume. 54 million is not horrible. I mean, we used to trade 1 million throughout this entire time frame. So, like, to me, 50 million is like, holy crap. But, like, you know, in relative terms, we had 146. This one was about like 100. This one was about 100. This one, I think, was like 150 something, if I remember correctly. But, yeah. Let's see. Maggie. The whale that bought 1.3 million shares is going to make a killing. Yeah, I mean, he very much could. Anna, my boy, had drinks tonight, pouring some McKellen 25 for you. Thanks always for what you do, my friend. Thanks, Kyle. All right. And for what it's worth, the next futures flipped a little bit. What do you think about Redbox? Are we getting this again? All right. So I'm here to talk about Aterian. Obviously, the stream is called Aterian Nightly Recap. Let me check something real fast. For if you guys are really that serious about this, I just want to see. I don't know if you're a bot or if you're a real person. If you're a real person, then I'll at least do you the solid of taking a look at some of their recent. Let me see. All right. So Redbox has a huge amount of need for cash. They are right now. They've got about 3 to 4 months of cash left, based off of like their cash burn. So that's not great. That means they're going to need to dilute pretty soon. Looks like they have about 16.8 million warrants right now. They just registered 2021 in April. Exercisable only if debt conditions not met. So they have. Those ones aren't registered yet, but they have dilution coming for Redbox. So what they're going to probably do is they're going to try to pump up the price, my guess, and then they're going to dump on those people doing it. Like, they just filed this in April 16th. So Redbox is a dying stock, and they're going to basically dump on investors. So that would be my assessment of them, just off like 30 seconds of research. It looks like they already have SPAC warrants, about 16 million of them still, but their exercise price is at $11. So the underwriter is going to want to get them there, but I don't even see an underwriter on them. Like, normally they show you an underwriter so you can figure out like if the underwriter wants to do it, but yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'm not playing that. If I do play that, I'll play it for like a day just to get a rip, and then I'd leave. I'm not doing that. You know, Aterian's a much safer long-term bet than a dying, red box that's going to just try to pump up on some warrants, and then they're going to dump onto them. So, yeah, it's like SST. Like, to me, you might play it for a day or two, but I'm not messing with it. So. Let's see. So day traders making videos about yeah, I mean, it is. No, yeah, I was gonna say I don't understand. We get a lot of bots in here, but yeah, they have dilution that's possible, and it may dump on people. So I'm not gonna mess with that right now. So they have a red box in front of the CVS near my house, and I've never used it because I stream everything. So, I mean, I don't see a point of that company, and I don't think many people do. I mean, I guess maybe if you're in a remote part that you don't have very good internet, but yeah, I don't want that. No, the FTD has not come out today. They'll come out later this week. Can Aterian break 650 tomorrow? I mean, we'll see. It's all going to depend on, buying pressure. And I mean, it does look like the stochastic is moving over, so it's possible. So how often do they dust off the cobwebs of the red box machine? I don't know. I walk by it when I pick up my prescriptions sometimes, but I don't really know. So it puts on Redbox. I mean, by puts on Robinhood and Redbox, anything the bots basically bring up. I'm not saying that this guy was a bot, but I know there's a lot of people talking about it. And whenever you see a new ticker on like Short Squeeze or one of the other squeeze sites, the first thing you should be doing if you're an investor is finding out, okay, why is this thing on here? Because most of the time they're doing it to pump it up so that they can dump out on retail. So just throwing that out there. When all of a sudden you see a new ticker that you've never seen before, that you've never even heard before, and somebody writes some good DD on it and it looks like it's legit, you better look. The first thing you should look at is dilution. I'm telling you guys right now, that's the first thing you should do. You should look at that and go, something's weird here. And you should definitely look up warrants, and you should look at, convertible notes, and you should look at anything that could screw you down the line. That's the first thing you do. So, yeah. Like, I just want you guys to be very aware, because, I mean, that's my goal, is I want to educate retail and tell them what I know, which is there's a reason why I don't fall for these traps anymore, and it's because I've learned the hard way multiple times, and so I'm trying to help you guys with that. How do you check dilution? I've never looked into warrants or stuff like that before. So, Maggie, basically what you do is you can go into any filing using the ATER system. I can opening up one, and then I'm going to go after that. But if you go to sec.gov, you go to a filing, right? So if you do these filings right here in the ATER system, this is somebody's filing, though. I need to take out that portion. Let me just do this. So if I type in was it Edgar? Here we go. So you type in your company name. So you go to Aterian, right? You pull up this. And then you can sit there and go through all of the different filings. And so if I, for example, want to do, you can say annual reports. This will give you your 8Ks, which are like the current ones, right? So you click into them, open the filing, and you can actually do things like interactive data, which is cool. You can actually pull out in Excel the information. So that's one thing that's pretty cool. Or you can actually click into it and load the form. And then what I like to do is you can go into search facts and you can type in warrants. Or if you can't do it that way, you can do Control F and type in warrants. I guess this one doesn't have. Oh, this is the shortened version. That's why. Okay. Let's see, all company filings. So yeah, if I go in here and I click on the 8K, is this the full one? No, this is just the signing page. Give me a second. Let's try this one. Where is it? I don't know if I'm just tired. Where's earnings release? Was it this one? Current filing. Did I go to sections? Is that what I have to do? Oh, why it's not working. Let's see. March 8th. Was it this one? try this real quick. That's the amendment. All right, so if I go to like the 10K, you hit warrants down here, and then you're going to see anything that says warrants on it. So that will speed up your stuff. There we go. All right, so all right, so warrant liability. Here we go. All right, so issuance of warrants right here. So they issued 25K warrants back in 2020 in August. They've got 6.4 million. These ones were the ones to High Trail. Those are now gone. That was modification between liability and equity. And sometimes they'll give you an actual section where they'll go over the warrants and what they are. Okay, so here's some of them. So like this one was High Trail's warrants in April. So they still have like the High Trail ones, I believe, are gone now. They still have, I think, some though that are still in the merger ones, if I remember correctly. And you have serious malware issues. All those underlines mean malwares in your machine. Huh. What do you mean those underlines? Huh. What's an underline? Underlines in my machine. I do have Malwarebytes. Huh. Anyway, so yeah, I was gonna say you can look up the warrants in here, and they'll have like a whole bunch of them. This was the High Trail stuff. This is midcap, the warrants there. But you can read through these, and then if you want a more simple one, it's true you don't have malware. Oh, he's trolling me. Gotcha. You can't do that when I'm tired, man. All right, so just to show you this, though. These guys are Dilution Tracker. They're a really, really good... they basically do all the work for you, which is really nice. We do have a discount code if you guys are interested in their product. I talked to the guy, Sean, and he was really nice, and he gave me a discount code for anyone in the Discord that wants to buy this service. But what it does is it basically gives you some like simplified stuff right here. These are the shares outstanding. These are possible dilution, and this also gives you cash burn, and here are your warrants. So it simplifies it out, and you can click on the Egger stuff, and here are the warrants for Redbox, for example. So it's a much better, easier system. Someone's doing all the work for you. So there's your free plug there, Sean, at Dilution Tracker. The orange underlying is malware. No, it's not, John. Dustin, please. All right. I'm past 11 o'clock, so I will go ahead and do this. I will go ahead and link my normal things. I will link my Patreon if you guys want to make me a full-time streamer someday. That would be very cool. But, I understand. Most people want the stock to take off before anything happens, so that's totally fine with me too. I'm doing this because I love you guys and I like the stock, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. But all right, I'll run Malwarebytes tonight just for John, just to make sure that I don't have some weird funky virus. So that's my Patreon. If you guys want to, donate, and then I'll link the Discord also, just to make sure if you guys aren't in the Discord, it's free, and there's a lot of really smart people in there that are covering Aterian and doing TA and all sorts of stuff. So it's a fun group. So hopefully everyone's in there and can join us. But yeah, I'm gonna get some sleep, and much love to you guys. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. And there's the link to the Discord. So yeah, good night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.